The following audio-supported podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Please speak to a healthcare professional before making any treatment decisions. The guests on today's show were paid to participate in this podcast.
Hey, Thal Pals. It's your friend and patient advocate, Nina Maria, and you're listening to Thal Pals, the Alpha Beta Revolution. Today, we are going to learn all about the Cooley's Anemia Foundation, or CAF, and I have some very lovely guests with me. I'll let you guys introduce yourself and your role at Cooley's.
My name is Robert Ficara. Bob, everybody knows me as. My dad started the Cooley's Anemia Foundation in 1954. Foundation is now celebrating its 70th year, which we're quite proud of. And I was president for 12 years from 1978 to 1990. And since then, we've had some wonderful, wonderful presidents. And the foundation has grown exponentially. And I believe that we have done a fabulous job in reaching out to our community, which we continue to do.
And I'm Craig Butler. I'm the National Executive Director for the Cooley's Anemia Foundation, which Bob has now told you everything, so I don't know what I'm going to have to say for the rest of the day. But I've been the Executive Director for 9 years. I started at the foundation in 2001 as the Communications Director, and I hope to never leave.
And I'm Ralph Colasanti. I am the current National President of the Cooley's Anemia Foundation. I've been involved with Cooley's Anemia Foundation since 1998, I believe. I was on the executive board since then, so it's really been a thrill to lead and be the first patient to be president of the foundation.
Agios is a biopharmaceutical company that's fueled by connections with patient communities, healthcare professionals, partners, and each other. Building on these connections and the company's unmatched leadership in PK activation, Agios is pioneering therapies for rare blood disorders, including PK deficiency, thalassemia, and sickle cell disease. To learn more about thalassemia, visit rethinkthalassemia.com. To join the conversation with other patient allies, follow us on Instagram at Ally Voices Rising. That's Ally, A-L-L-Y, Voices Rising.
It's so great to have you guys here. Bob, I want to start with you. Your father founded this foundation. How did it get birthed? What was the beginning?
Well, unfortunately, my older sister, born in 1938, had thalassemia major, which was totally unknown to the community. I was born in 1943, and I was diagnosed with thalassemia. My family proceeded to have another child, my brother Frank, and in that particular time, in those years, was very, very little known. My father was a butcher, and he started to do research and met some other people that had children with thalassemia, and they got together and formed the Cooley's Anemia Foundation. One of the most important things that they did was that my dad had found out about what they call at that time hyper blood transfusions, a doctor in Philadelphia. He drove out there, met the doctor, and took that information, came back to New York at the time, and they started to have the doctors promote raising the blood level of the patients to help their life, because they were giving blood donations to the patients, transfusions at 6 and 7 of their hemoglobin level. So they were basically very tired all the time, exhausted. And also you start to exhibit certain features from that lack of transfusion. The fact of iron buildup was not really known at that time. And it wasn't until the 60s that there was research being done on something called a chelator to remove the iron from the system. So that progress started slowly. They financed the foundation at that time with the bingos, dinner and dances, and anything to raise money to open up a little office on St. John Street in Brooklyn. And that's where the foundation started to go. Then they ran the first symposium where they invited doctors from overseas to come. And the New York Academy of Science ran the symposium. And it was an eye-opener that doctors came from Greece and from Italy and other places in the Mediterranean, because at that time, most of the known patients were of either Greek or Italian heritage. So the disease was also called Mediterranean anemia. And that's how the foundation started.
Can I jump in?
Absolutely.
So one of the benefits that I've had of being with the foundation for a long time is that I've had the pleasure of looking through a lot of scrapbooks that Bob's family donated to us. And one of the things which just always sticks with me, Bob was talking about finding out about hypertransfusion in the 50s. In the scrapbooks, there are all of these press clippings of blood donations that Bob's family was involved with, blood drives that they were helping to organize and run. And I'd say to people sometimes, New York would not have had any blood in the 50s if it wasn't for Bob's family.
It's incredible.
That's so true.
We know where it all started. Where is it now? What is Cooley's now, Craig?
So we've been fortunate over the 70 years that we've been in existence. We've been fortunate to have a lot of great people like Bob, his family, and a number of other families that have been involved with the foundation in a very meaningful way, who provided incredible leadership. And they had so much forethought and so much foresight, particularly starting at a time when there really wasn't anything much known about thalassemia. So because of the work that they did, they kind of almost by accident came up with the ground plan of trying to figure out what is it that we need to make sure that our kids, at the time that would be what they would have been thought of, the kids or the people that were behind the foundation, get the care that they need. And because of that, we've been able to grow from, an organization where it was getting together in the back of Bob's butcher shop to a professional organization now that does have a small staff of about 7 people. But we're able to offer patient services. We're able to have communications to get people to know about what goes on in thalassemia, both in the community itself, in the at-risk populations, and for the general public. And we're able to use whatever resources we have available to reach out to government officials to make sure that they are aware of what goes on in the community, what the needs are of people with thalassemia, and to advocate on behalf of our community with the government as much as possible. And we've been able to build great relationships with our doctors and researchers so that we're able to work, kind of hand in hand with the people that are right there on the front lines, delivering the care and coming up with the ideas and the studies and the trials that are necessary to keep advancing things.
And a wonderful conference you run every year.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. We do. Bob's alluding. We have a great patient family conference, which we hold typically in July, it's a wonderful learning experience for the people that are able to participate, because they're able to come there and learn from the doctors that really know a lot about thalassemia. But equally important, it gives them a chance to learn from each other. We kind of split things up between, here are sessions where you're going to hear from doctors and researchers, and here are sessions where you're going to hear from other people like yourself. And because so many people with thalassemia live in an area where they may be the only thalassemia patient, it's very important to have an opportunity for them to meet and to really feel a part of the community and to grow and to get strength from that connection.
Mm-hmm. That connection is invaluable, and having a space to have that is a beautiful thing. Ralph, you're a patient yourself and a president. What is it like seeing this come to fruition from a patient perspective?
So coming full circle, that's the way I feel about this, is that I came full circle, because, you heard Bob and you heard Craig, but what you don't hear is that we're a very humble foundation. They don't brag enough. Okay. Blood safety was one of the number one concerns when they started hypertransfusion. So this foundation went to bat for their patients to make sure the blood was tested. And that affects everybody. That doesn't affect just the thalassemia community or hemolytic anemias. It affects the world, because anybody who gets a blood transfusion can thank the Cooley Anemia Foundation for, fighting and knocking down doors and going to Congress and saying, hey, this needs to be tested. We got to make sure this blood is safe. So I say that, we're very humble because we don't brag about some of those milestones that we hit. But I think the biggest turnaround I seen was they're not calling me child anymore, right? They're not calling me a kid. When I first started at the foundation, volunteering on the board of directors, they were always calling us, the kids or their patients or their children. And then as I got more involved with the executive committee, they saw that, hey, we've got really a lot to offer. We're not just, we're not uneducated. We're not, we're thriving and we're doing things where at that time I was actually just married and starting a family. And so our president at the time was Frank Soma, and he's just turned to another board member, Peter Kieko, and he's like, dude, he's our contemporary. He's not a kid. We got to stop calling them kids, And I still, remember that and refer to that because I was like, I felt like I was the kid at the table. I really felt like, if somebody needed a seat, I could go sit at the kids' table type thing, But they gave me a seat at the table, and we made just strides in just doing things and advancing. The conference was a big, once, CAF took over the patient and family conference, it went from maybe a little weekend that TAG used to do to, a giant weekend filled with, talks and the get-togethers and breakout rooms for patients, breakout rooms for spouses, significant others, breakout rooms for the teens, a children's session where the kids, the parents could actually listen to the talks while the kids are being taken care of. So it turned into the best thing that we do every year is our patient family conference. But, just knowing I had a voice really changed my perspective. And I really feel that without the foundation, and that's why I'm giving back, is without the foundation, I probably wouldn't have been here because I see how hard they fight. I see how hard all these people that I didn't know, growing up, fought for me as a patient, fought for those fellowships. Like we sponsor fellowships every year, and it's those fellowships that brought about multiple types of chelation that we have today. It's those fellowships that brought about gene therapy. And I remember we were talking about gene therapy the first time I sat at the table. And it was just like, boy, if this could really happen, And now it's not only one, but there's two out there, right? That can happen. So it's just, it's amazing for me just to be able to lead this foundation from a patient perspective that, just gives me the energy to keep doing what I'm doing, and everybody's like, well, when's your term up? I'm like, as soon as they tell me I have to leave. So, we just, we're a family. That's basically the only way I could explain it is we're family, even from the board of directors down to every patient that we ever meet, we become family.
Now, Ralph mentioned the gene therapy procedures, which are currently available now. There are two of them for thalassemia. And it just reminded me, again, going back to when I started in 2001. So about 25 years ago, as many people probably know, there was a very unfortunate clinical trial involving not thalassemia, but gene therapy for another disorder, which had some very unfortunate outcomes to the extent where 25 years ago, gene therapy just wasn't being done or even talked about. It had come to a complete standstill, basically. But when I started at the foundation in 2001, I was surprised to see that the Cooley Anemia Foundation was working to continue to explore gene therapy as an option for thalassemia, even though gene therapy as a concept was really in the doghouse at that time. But the people that were with the foundation, the leadership there, said, we know that there were problems, but we feel that it's worth continuing to investigate this because perhaps, there will be advances and perhaps doing gene therapy in thalassemia will have a different outcome than has happened before. And I think that it was very, it was emblematic of how thoughtful the leadership at the foundation has always been, to not just say we're going to give up on this, but to say there are problems, but we're going to see if it may be worth pursuing, with the result that now, not just because of what the foundation does, but the belief the foundation had in gene therapy, I think, helped contribute to the successes that we've had in recent years.
Yeah, that's great. I think, with Thal being such a small community and such a rare disease, we need that. We're like an underdog, we need a loud bark. We need leaders to push, to push for more research and better outcomes. And it's such an incredible thing to be able to do.
Well, our community is perhaps bigger than you think when you look worldwide. I mean, you're talking probably India, probably 12 to 14,000 patients alive. Thailand, 10, 11, 12,000. China could be 150,000. When we got to China 20 years ago, there were hardly any alive at all. And now they are been trained with knowledge, treating. So the thalassemia community worldwide is probably 300,000, totally. And there's probably somewhere, because of the little villages and things, probably somewhere around 20 or 30,000 that are born and die every year because they have no access or no knowledge. So the outreach has to happen because there's a lot of things that have changed. As I said before, the foundation blood disorder was known as Mediterranean anemia because at that time, most of the patients were of Italian and Greek descent. Today, with immigration, with the our demographics in the United States has changed dramatically. When we have a patient-parent conference today, and you see a picture of all the young kids on the stage with thalassemia, they're foreign above all Asian, whether it be from India or China or from any of the Far East countries. And the Arab community has become awakened also, so they're doing a lot of research. And the disorder is in Israel, it's in Jordan, it's kind of like a belt around the world.
That just speaks to how vast our community is and how full of life and diversity and how beautiful that is. And I think we just had a conversation about diversity and how that's kind of a strength of ours is, though we come from many different places, we have such a strong connection through this one very big commonality. Craig, you talked about, you guys both talked about the CAF conference and some of the things that you guys do. What other kinds of programs and resources do you supply for patients?
Mr. Ralph is going to start something, I think, that you guys are going to really love, because the pharmaceutical industry seems to be very advocacy apparent, wanting to be. So he's considering starting a thalassemia advocacy.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to work on getting thalassemia advocacy together, because there's patients like yourself and me and some of the people you interviewed over the last few days that are strong advocates. And then we find the patient that we've never met before, and that happened today, right? So it's just about reaching out and advocating for ourselves, because, like you said, we need to have a loud voice. And the foundation has many programs to support patients, efforts. We have an incentive award that it's not our scholarship. You don't have to earn it. It's just an incentive award to say, hey, you want to go to college, you want to go to trade school, we're going to help you. We're going to provide some financial assistance to do that. We have a 50-plus award, because some of our older patients that are struggling, and there's some things that insurance doesn't cover, like maybe supplements, or maybe you want to live a healthier lifestyle, so you want to join a gym. So we're incentivizing them to say, yeah, I could join the gym because Cooley's will pay for it, or as long as you get doctor approval and everything. So we have these programs in place, and the advocacy comes because the foundation itself advocates very well for us. But there's times when we have to go in front of Congress or in front of the FDA and say, hey, they have this drug approved in Europe, but we're still not approved here, and this is why we need it here. And we've done that under our term. We don't brag about that, but getting Ferroprox approved, in the United States was a big deal. I think the biggest outreach we have now is embracing industry and industry helping us, helping us get the word out, and not because it's going to benefit them, but because we deal with many people in industry, not just one company in general. So, because we want choices, we want, that menu, so to speak, of, well, this doesn't work for me, so I want to take this, or this, this doesn't, work for another patient, but they're good on this. So the more we could fund research and, get the word out there where, we could make these strides. I think our biggest, right now, like with diversity, our biggest obstacle is reaching other communities. Like right now, if you look at the names of the board of directors, you'll see most of them are Italian or most of them are Greek still. And when you look at our big donors, you'll see they're people, and I'm going to call them out because they deserve to be honored, because they, you'll see like Ficaras, you'll see Kiekos, you'll see Somas, you'll see Violas, you'll see Casetas, you'll see all these names, Fasaros, that bring big money to us each year, because we run really on a $2 million budget, which is insane for all the things we get done. And, our staff works 24/7. They don't work 9 to 5. Craig, he'll answer emails at 9, 10 o'clock at night because he sends them to me. So I know. But, so that's why I say we're more of a family. But we had to get the word out there. We had to find other people to support us because our donor base right now is getting older, and we are so diverse that, reaching out to some of our communities like Order Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, or Unico National, which is all Italian-based communities that support us, a lot of times they're looking at us and saying, well, you're not all Italian anymore, but they still support us, right? So we have to find a way to break into some of these other communities and help raise the level of funding so that we could do more. It's just about doing more.
And also, I think it's indigenous upon us now to get the patients more involved themselves, not only at the patient advocacy, but on the boards, on the committees. They're old enough, they're mature enough. The Thalassemia International Federation, which is stationed in Cyprus, from its inception in 1986, 50% of the board has been patients and 50% non-patients. That has been consistent now since 1986. And the hardest working people on the board, the most brilliant, traveling, giving lectures, support, are the patients. So it's really now time to rise to the occasion and take over the management of your own disorder.
And right now we do have a good patient presence. Like there's 5 patients that sit on the executive committee. So that's actually a third of what our executive committee is. And on our board of directors, we have probably over, because I was just working on this, I think we have about 20 patients out of the 47 that are on our board. So the patients are there. It's just a matter of getting them to voice and to do things, right? Because it's all about, how are you going to support, some of our goals? How are you going to support our efforts? If you're just, waiting for somebody else to do it, it's not going to get done. So we have to start doing it ourselves.
I wanted to just follow up on something Ralph said a minute ago about being in front of the FDA. So anytime that there is a treatment that's important to the thalassemia community that comes up to the FDA, we make sure that we make our voice heard and make the community voice heard. If they have an open meeting where they are inviting public comment, we make sure that we have patients and parents that sign up to talk and express their opinion on something. And it's amazing how crucial that is. The FDA is going to look at the science of it. That's the most important thing. But they're going to take in consideration other factors. And that's why it's incumbent upon any patient community to be active in that process. And I think there was one treatment that was being decided by the FDA panel. We brought down about 12 people to speak to them. And afterwards, we were all just sitting around outside. It got approved. We were hanging around outside, and one of the doctors came out, saw us there, and came over to say that, he wanted to let us know that if we had not been there and they had not heard from us, they probably would not have voted for it. So it's very powerful. And I also just want to follow up a couple of other things that the foundation does, in addition to the patient incentive awards, which Ralph mentioned, and the awards for children of patients. And in addition, there are several other things we do. One of them is we recognize that there are about 15% of the patients in our database are actually adopted, with the vast majority of them being adopted from overseas. So we did start kind of a little recognition for people that decide they're going to adopt a child with thalassemia. We give them a small, $1,000 as a way of saying, thank you for making a difference in this child's life. Because clearly, when you're dealing with something like thalassemia, where you're going to have all of these doctor appointments and all of these treatments that you're going to have to be undergoing on a regular basis, that's a big commitment for someone to take on. So we just want to thank those parents that say, yes, we're willing to do this because we love this child. We want to give them the best life possible. We also offer some cash reimbursement for patients that need to travel a long distance to take care of their comprehensive care tests every year, or anything else of an extraordinary medical nature that's related to thalassemia. Because we know you can't necessarily go get the best treatment for thalassemia from just any doctor. Sometimes you need to have an established relationship between your doctor and someone who's really got experience doing it. And that may mean that you're going to have to travel, once, twice a year to a center which may be many miles away. And we want to make sure that people are able to do that. So we also, make sure that is happening for them.
Amazing. And that brings up the topic of access. You mentioned that there are a lot of patients out there that are not close to a specialist. And I think there are a lot of patients out there that don't know where to go when they're not close to a specialist, right? Like their doctor may have diagnosed them, but their doctor doesn't know anything about thalassemia. Do you guys help at all with patients who don't know where to go from there?
Sure. So, we mentioned our patient family conference. That's part of our patient services department. And Eileen Scott, who is our patient services manager, has been helping patients for longer than I've been with the foundation. And she is someone who has personal experience as the parent of someone with thalassemia. And so she's been through it all. And she knows it all per se. And when patients call or when parents call, we have a database of doctors that we can go to and say, all right, so we see that you're living in X. There happens to be a doctor that we know has treated thalassemia. Why don't you go speak with them? Or if there's no one in their area, we can tell them the nearest expert center is here, and recommend that they get in touch with the appropriate source so that they can start getting the kind of care that they need.
And we have Kathleen Durst.
Oh, of course, Kathleen Durst is our on-site social worker who is, she helps patients deal with all the challenges that you come up with in terms of working out all of the details of how do I manage this with everything else going on in my life. And she also organizes some online patient support groups so that, people that want to talk to other people that have thalassemia in their basic age range can go on and have conversations with them and learn more about what other people are doing to manage their own thalassemia.
Awesome. I do know you guys do a care walk, and I've heard from, patients kind of what that, it's another aspect of connection. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and why you do it?
So we came up with a care walk. That's basically one of our national fundraising efforts. Just because it's basically a walk where you could walk around the block, you could walk around your house. It depends on, we know the efforts of some patients are a little bit better than the efforts of others, like as far as, physical, again, physical fatigue, right? Sometimes people can't walk around the block or they can't, run the mile, but we want to include everybody. So, we run it once a year, usually aligned with International Thalassemia Day is like our kickoff. That's what we try to kick it off then. And we'll come up with a day and say, I think this year it's going to be May 4th. I think we're going to kick it off. So May the 4th be with us. And the good thing about it is you just form a team. So you go online, you go to our website, and you say, I want to join a team or I want to be a team captain. And, there's a small registration fee just to cover the cost of the T-shirts. But they'll, and the idea is just to go out, once you've created a team, go out and, ask your friends to join your team or to donate to your team. So the effort is, like, if you're joining my team, Nina Maria, I'm going to ask you, maybe get some of your friends to join your team. So it kind of snowballs. So the good thing about it is we do it doesn't necessarily have to take place in one location. So members of my team we usually do a walk in Delaware around the riverfront, but there's people from Philadelphia that are in my team and they may be walking at the same time or a different day totally in Philly or New Jersey. I had a friend this year did a walk at the beach at down the shore, Jersey. It's down the shore. I'm sorry. While we were doing our walk in Delaware. So it was great. It's a nice little fundraising effort, and it's to get everybody involved and more so to spread awareness because, we got smart. We put QR codes on the T-shirts. So as we're walking, people are like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, just scan the QR code, and I actually had people donate just by scanning the QR code. So it's, it needs to be bigger. It needs to grow, but we ask all our patients to get involved in one and to help at least support one. Just because they're fun. And that's when, like you said, we make a good connection. My hospital, my closest treatment center is in Philadelphia. So, getting that whole group of people to come down to Delaware is fun, and we get together and we walk. Some walk further, some walk, we have people that actually walk, ran marathons with thalassemia, which is awesome. But, I make it a quick little walk and then I'm headed to the restaurant for lunch. So, but that's what we do. We make it a day of it. And it doesn't have to be crazy. You just have to say, I'm going to take responsibility to be a captain and I'm going to solicit some of my friends to join me. And it's not hard. It's really not hard. But, I think that's our only, right, outside of Giving Tuesday and our gala that we have.
Those are the big nationals.
Yeah, that'll be national. Most of our other fundraising comes through chapters, and most of our chapters are in New York. We do have one here in California, but because the foundation started in New York, you notice most of our chapters are in that area: New York, New Jersey. We have one in Rochester, New York. We have it's Boston. Chicago has one. So it they all do their own little things throughout the year to help raise funds for us. But the care walks are usually our big, and we have fun doing it. So,
and like Ralph was saying, the key with care walk is it's flexible. We want to make this so easy for anyone that wants to do it. So we may kick it off on Thalassemia Day, but we're basically like, that doesn't work for you? Do it on June 8th. Do it August 15th. Do it September 12th. Just, do it where it's going to work for you. And if doing your walk means I'm going to get together and my wife and my child and I are going to go walk our dog through the park, that's great. Or if you're like, I'm going to get 200 people together, that's fine. We just want people to do it. And raising funds is why we started it. But we also want it to raise awareness. We want people to be able to look at it and say, what is that? What is thalassemia? And learn about it. And we encourage people post about it on social media, not just because that's a good way of spreading the word, but because that helps the whole community feel more connected. Particularly if you're the only patient, in a small town in Iowa, and you're able to go on and say, look, all of these people are walking for me, that does something for you. That makes you feel connected. It makes you feel that you're special. It makes you feel that there are people out there that really care about what happens to you.
Absolutely. That's, yeah.
And that's the gist of the care walk, is just show you care, right?
Yeah.
And Bob does a great walk. He usually does his in September.
Mine down the Jersey Shore, Spring Lake, and the T-shirts and everything's. We gather up, take pictures, and then the group walks for a mile and a half on the boardwalk, and people are cheering us and all, and a mile and a half back, and then we have a nice brunch, and people talk and get to know and so there are patients who come there also, and it's been growing. I think we had about 80 people this last go round. And some people have a pizza truck waiting when people get back, and they do whatever works for them, as you said, and each one does it. And now it comes down to, when are you having your next care walk? So people are really interested in increasing it and in inviting people.
That's just wonderful. I love that so much.
And it was great to see that industry participated this year. It was fantastic. See some of our friends walking on our behalf. But again, like I say, we're very humble. And Bob forgot to say, like, a very important thing is that he was part of the founding member of TIFF, which is Thalassemia International Federation. So Cooley's actually was Cooley's Anemia Foundation was one of the driving forces of getting TIFF started. And Bob spent since the inception of TIFF until recently on that board.
That's incredible.
Oh, it was a wonderful thing that happened. We went to a meeting in Milan, Italy, and Bernadette Model, who was the mother of thalassemia back in those days, put up a thing and said, anybody who belongs to a national association, meet at this room. We went there, and there was someone from England. There was somebody from Greece, one from Cyprus, Italy, Greece. There were 5 of us. And we said, we should do it international. And we decided to do that. We met in Greece 3 or 4 months later with patients joining us. And one of the patients stood up. He said, I demand 50% of the board be patients from its inception. And it has been like that since 1986. Our office in Cyprus. And from the initial 5 countries, we now have 70 countries. And we have delegation visits with a superior doctor, a boy and girl patient, and a parent. And we visit all these different countries. I've been to 61 countries so far.
Wow, that's incredible. Just to be able to connect worldwide like that is crazy. Insane. There's something I do want to ask you guys about. In the Thal community, a lot of the focus is on transfusion-dependent patients. But we're starting to learn that we need to start putting a little more focus on our non-transfusion-dependent folks, and that, they may need a little more care than they were told in the beginning. Do you guys provide resources to them as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've always been, I think, pretty good at being aware of and trying to include what used to be called beta thalassemia intermedia. But it's only really been in more recent years that we've been trying to reach out to the alpha thalassemia intermedia community, to the hemoglobin H's, and to those people that are not beta thalassemia, but have an alpha thalassemia type, which may not require them to get a whole lot of care, but which is important that we're connected with them, because there's a lot that we still are learning about hemoglobin H in particular. And we want to make sure that we're in touch with as many of those people as possible so that when something new comes out that maybe is going to be affecting them, we're able to reach out and say to them, here's some information that may be applicable to you, or here's research that's being done that you may want to know about. So we're really wanting to try to increase our footprint in the alpha thalassemia community to make sure that not only are they getting what they need, but that we're learning from them what their needs are.
You're either transfusion dependent or non-transfusion dependent. And as far as the foundation, from day one, no matter what form of thalassemia you have, they're supporting you. Like I was non-transfused early in my life. I was not dependent on transfusions. And when chelation came out, I just went to the foundation and gave me a pump. Not that I loved it, but my mom couldn't afford to get one and wasn't covered by insurance at that time. So they just gave us all pumps. So, I mean, these are things that you credit, your life for, right? Because that was the way you're sustaining your life at that time. Same thing as going to bat for different chelators and blood donations and making sure we have safe blood. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're beta, alpha, as long as you have that thalassemia,
Part of the family.
title, yeah, you're part of the foundation. So
Yeah.
even, we're reaching out even now to, like we'll get calls from trait carriers, down minor, and, we'll handle the calls as best we can, but, there's not a lot we could do, but we don't know. It hasn't really been studied.
Bob, you have been there through the beginning. You've been through this journey with Cooley's. What has it been like to watch, to see what it started as and to see what it is now?
Well, I am extremely proud of all the people who have devoted their lives to Cooley's Anemia Foundation. And we have people that have been there consistently for 20 years more. I mean, I was born into it with my family. I took up the reins. Actually, the way it really started was I had graduated college. I got a job, and in memory of my father, I made a donation to the foundation, and the hook went out. And within 1 year, I was vice president, and the second year, I was president, and we started the commitment. And I'm proud to fulfill my father's dream of helping his own children and other children. So I continue it. I'm very proud of the people, past presidents, whether prior to Ralph, after myself, they have done a great job. The foundation has grown exponentially, and I am very, very proud of their work. And to be part of it, it makes it makes your life really worthwhile. You're doing something good. When you do charitable work, you do not expect to get rewarded, but you end up getting rewarded. You meet the most beautiful people. In my case, I traveled. I tasted food around the world. I met people from all around the world. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to know you're doing something like that. There are many people who work for other charities and other foundations, and I applaud them all. God bless every one of them.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to sit with us. And for all of those listeners out there, you can find a link to the Cooley's Anemia Foundation in the show notes. Be sure to check them out. You can find all of the resources that they supply there. And don't forget to subscribe, and catch you on the next episode.